Yo, what's up? We got another video today. It's a surprising one, actually. I didn't actually know about this. I'm not really keeping up with the news a lot, you know what I mean? But I just saw this video coming out about Australia's social media getting banned. So let's check that out. I don't know if y'all been keeping up with that, but let's see what this is about. Yeah.
Hello, we start in Australia because in a few hours' time, the social media ban for children under the age of 16 will come into effect. The
Ayo.
legislation's aimed at protecting children from cyberbullying, online
Okay.
predators and harmful content. It's been a
Okay.
heated debate worldwide. The tech
Cool.
giant Reddit is the latest to say it will comply with the new law, but has described it as arbitrary. Instagram and Facebook have already started shutting down accounts of people under 16.
Yo.
Some popular apps and websites, including WhatsApp, are exempt. Our Australia correspondent Katie Watson reports.
For the good of Kirsty. For the good of Lucy and Anya.
Australia's about to try an ambitious experiment to be the first country in the world to boot young teens off social media. The message from the government is clear.
For the good of their well-being.
The law means a return to the good life and an end to the angst felt by parents watching their kids' lives online. With the
Does that
ban
mean
coming
YouTube?
in just as the summer holidays begin, kids here all have an opinion on what the government's doing.
Probably
They
not.
see
Right?
social media as a place, kind of like a cesspool of the internet, where all kinds of debauchery happens and just general nonsense influencing their children, which is true, but that could be bettered with like regulation over complete banning.
I feel like it would be good for people to know there's life outside of social media, like everything on social
Yeah,
media
100%.
isn't real.
Kids are going to find a way to get around it and are going to still access social media even with a ban in place.
I just want to see it and I'm going to delete it.
Tilly Rosewarne was a keen dancer and loved her social media, but cyberbullying pulled her life apart. Nearly 4 years ago, Tilly killed herself. She was just 15.
And it began as things like messaging, text messages, but then moved on to things like TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram.
You've been campaigning, you've been alongside the Prime Minister speaking at, in New York about the importance. Why do you think this ban is so important?
Because children across our world are enduring this. Because these are methods of harm. These are agents of harm that are unregulated. And I think our children have been the social experiment. We have just said, here's a phone, as I did when Tilly was 12, and not knowing that that would be part of her demise. That really her connection to an unfettered, unregulated world would mean that she was exposed to all sorts of harm, that as a parent, if it was in front of you, you wouldn't allow it. And that it's not that her life mattered, but that her pain mattered. That no one should have to go through what Tilly did.
For many experts, though, this law isn't the answer.
The ban does not address the qualitative problems that young people experience online. What it does is put a giant gate in front of those problems and says you can't open it for an extra 3 years.
Oh,
The world's watching Australia closely right now, but for every fan of the
Twitch
law
ban.
and for all of its critics, it's the lives of Australia's teenagers that matter the most. Katie Watson, BBC News in Sydney.
Dr. Catherine Archer is communication researcher
No, that
and
was
senior
gone.
lecturer at Edith Cowan University in Perth and gave us her analysis
But
of
initially,
the
that's what
upcoming
I thought.
ban.
I was like, did they
Kids,
just
you know,
ban
the
until
older
it turns,
teens who've got
like,
social
above
media
18
accounts
or
are
something?
downloading their data. That's been sort of suggested that they do that. But I do know anecdotally that also they are migrating to other platforms that aren't as yet covered under the ban. I've heard of the platform Yope, which has sort of got similar facilities to Snapchat. And also that potentially some of the age verification software may not be working because 14 and 15-year-olds are still able to use their photo, and
lie,
it seems
right?
to be working for them to
They gotta use
bypass
photo
around the laws.
verification.
With parental permission, of course, because some parents are saying, look, my son or daughter is 14 or 15, that's their connection. That's the way they communicate with their friends. It's like, 40 years ago, if our parents said to us,
We
you're
got
not
phone
allowed
numbers.
to use the phone anymore, it would have been
can text.
quite a shock for teens at
But
that
Snapchat-
stage. So it is the way kids communicate. So it is going to be quite a difficult
Snapchat
transition, I would
changed.
suggest.
You know what? Nah, cause like I I would have to go through like each social media and just like look down through like no, I don't think this is a bad ban. Like offhand, I think because at least an opinion that I've had for a while, and that's constantly been getting reinforced by the stuff I've been seeing, has been that like yo kids and like young kids should not be under the influence of the entire internet while growing up, before they get a chance to form their own identities, before they get a chance to form their own opinions, before they get a chance to really find out what they're about in life, or just like before they get a chance to really learn, what it means to be a productive member of society, if that makes sense. But because like just like logging on to TikTok, seeing crash outs and stuff, you're just like, oh, this is what niggas doing. Let me hop on this. It's a bad look, I'm not gonna lie. Now there's always been stuff like that where like kids are like, oh, we're just gonna go and do kid stuff, right? But like it's happening before it was just like in niche scenarios and you'd see it like in real life, because you wouldn't really just see people popping out, crashing out everywhere online as soon as you open your phone every 5 seconds. That wasn't the case. It was more like I would see it. Like, at least this is me growing up. I was born in 1997. So, like, I'm, like, the last of Gen Z. Or the first of, the first of Gen Z, I guess. Because it's, like, 1997 to, like, 2012, right? So, yeah, like, I'm, like, the first of Gen Z. And basically, when I was growing up, we didn't have, like, as many things. Obviously, y'all know, I don't know what age y'all are watching this, but like we didn't have everything at once. It was kind of like trickled in, and it was like growing and like being implemented on. It wasn't just all available like in its present form like it is now. And I feel like apps like Snapchat probably would have been fine to leave out of the ban, but I think Snapchat probably would have been fine to leave out of the ban if they didn't connect so much to everything. Because Snapchat could have just been what it was before, an app where people like chat each other in a fun way, right? Where you just have fun chatting with your friends. But no, Snapchat decided to, I don't have Snapchat on this phone, but last time I looked at it, on Snapchat, they had like news articles and like all these different social media feed things that like connect Snapchat to the rest of the internet. So it's not like an isolated thing where just like, oh, you're just yapping with your friends. Now you're integrating your whole like internet architecture into Snapchat as well. And it's mostly just toxic stuff, from what I've seen. Not really anything like enlightening or entertaining or anything cool, really. It's just clickbait toxic shit from what I've seen. But aside from like, I saw a couple of videos with like Psych to Go or something like that, which is kind of useful. But this ends up being a long video, but we're gonna yap because this is a reaction. We're not just here to like watch the video and just say nothing. We're gonna talk about it. But yeah, TikTok used to be something, but now it's something way different. Now it's a commodified, toxic, crash out marketplace for the most part, and a lot of the other stuff is buried, or gets buried by like the algorithm, because the algorithm is favoring those things. It's not the social media itself, I'm not gonna lie, but it is the state of social media, and banning it kind of does make sense, I'm not gonna lie. Because of the state that it's in. It's not the tool itself that's the problem. It's the state that the tool is in, and what's being promoted, I feel like, is the problem. Facebook and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like Facebook's probably fine. Like if I were to go through and like ban certain social medias, I feel like Facebook is probably fine, other than like the obvious data infringing. Things like that, like collecting people's data and all that. But from a pure standpoint of like, oh, this is harmful content, I think Facebook is one of the more lukewarm versions of that, because like mainly when I'm looking at Facebook, it's more just like old like throwback memes and stuff like that. I have like different algorithms for like different pages and stuff, but like most of the stuff I end up seeing isn't really like stuff you'd see on TikTok or Snapchat, right? It's not like Gen Z crash out era stuff. It's more along the lines of like I would say more like millennial old memes or like old cartoon stuff, or like just it's more, it feels like a platform where like more mature posts are being made, at least from what I experienced with Facebook. So I don't think Facebook is that as bad as the other two, but Instagram is definitely not helping anything. Plus, it doesn't really serve them that much, because like, what is Instagram doing for young kids that other apps aren't? If I'm looking at Snapchat, right? Snapchat isn't Instagram. Instagram, you go and you post a bunch of pictures, you put whatever you want out there, and the whole culture is just like trying to make your life look as glamorous as possible, right? Take the highlights, all that, right? I'm not saying it's explicitly used for that, but that's what a lot of people use it for. So if I'm looking at how Instagram actually serves young people, it, outside of like the texting feature, it kind of doesn't. Because what purpose is like anyone from like 16 and older? I don't know about 16 is kind of getting close to that age where it's like it could kind of be okay, but like if I were to drop the example, right, because this is starting at 16, if I were to drop the example to like a 12-year-old, what need does a 12-year-old have for Instagram? In my opinion, is zero. Because like you can either text your friends, or if Snapchat was like disconnected from like all the other bullshit that it's connected to, you can use something else like Snapchat if you want to like communicate with your friends in a fun way, right? So Instagram like is not a thing for that. If you want to just post I don't know, whatever you want to post, what would a 12-year-old post on Instagram? I don't know, like, look at this new cup I got, I guess. But they would be able to do that on Snapchat too, to the people that actually care, not for the whole world to see, you know. So I don't think Instagram really serves much of a purpose for that, unless they're like entrepreneurial and they're like trying to grow a business, right? Like say there's like a kid that's like, oh, I make art or something like that, right? And they're like, I want to be an artist, and so I'm going to start making my art and posting my art on Instagram. That's an instance in which I could see this ban being very, very like stifling for someone like that, because that would essentially prevent them from getting early growth in their career, which is unfortunate, at least like with the scale that's available to them. I don't know how they go about it outside of this, because like they're not banned from like other platforms like Gumroad, DeviantArt, stuff like that. They're not banned from any of those, from what I assume. And yeah, it just seems like, hold on, we could probably continue this and watch another version of this. It said why Australia is banning social media. We'll probably watch this one like right after this. This can be like a longer video, I guess. But I'm gonna say like, yeah, I feel like it stifles like young creators who are actually creators. And yeah, I feel like it stifles them a little bit, but for the vast majority, I feel like it's a healthy change. Now, obviously, there's gonna be like some workarounds, right? Like if I'm looking at, okay, what are the other apps on here? There's YouTube. I don't think YouTube should be banned, but I think YouTube Kids, it needs to be like a separate. Because if I'm looking at YouTube, right? YouTube is such a widely, like, YouTube is not the problem. I feel like when it comes to social media, it does contribute to it. I'm not gonna lie to you. It does contribute to it with like all these grifters and stuff. Like there's like these red pill grifters and these like pink pill grifters, like the dating app culture, all the dating gurus on YouTube, I feel like is the most damaging part of YouTube for young people. Other than that, what would I flag? What would I really say, like, hey, this is not like good content for young people? I feel like most of it is either like informative or entertaining. Maybe like the prank content, I don't know, but like prank content is like, there's a range, you know? There's like the whole like harmless pranks, which are just funny, haha, yeah, it's funny, we're joking. And then there's like the crash out pranks, which are just people committing crimes and calling it a prank. That's different. But I feel like in large part, YouTube is not one of the ones that I would target for sure for kids, because a lot of like Minecraft videos and stuff, a lot of kids aren't here just watching Minecraft videos. Like my nephew, not doing anything crazy. He's on YouTube Kids, obviously, but like, dude's just on here watching Minecraft videos. I'll be watching them with him sometimes. So I don't really think YouTube is all that crazy, but Reddit, definitely. I don't think kids need to be on Reddit for any reason. There's like almost no reason I would think a kid should be on Reddit, especially with how unregulated it is. I don't think there's any reason. So we're just gonna skip over that one. That one, Reddit, I don't even think, being honest, I don't even think a lot of adults should be on Reddit, for being real. Reddit is like a place you go if, to me, this is how I view Reddit. Reddit is a place to go if you have a brain that's under your control. If you don't, then Reddit, you do not need to go anywhere near Reddit. I'm gonna just be honest. Twitter, not really a reason for kids to be on Twitter for real. I can't see any upsides to it right now, other than, again, the art thing. Like, that's the same with Instagram. Like, if you're an artist or you're like, you're an upcoming like creative, right, and you want to share your work to get noticed and to get like, you know, start building like momentum in your career, that's one thing. Or if you're like a voice actor or something like that, you know. Yeah, that'd be the only thing. But outside of that, no reason to have like a bunch of kids voicing their opinion on the internet like that. And like seeing random opinions on stuff like that. Twitch. I feel like I put Twitch in like a similar vein as YouTube, where it's like, it's not the, except I'll be a little bit more like biased of it. I'd say like I would put Twitch in the same category as YouTube, as like, these are not the things I would target, but there are specific people that just don't make like content with the foresight that it could be damaging. And a lot more of those people are on Twitch than you can isolate on YouTube, because there's just so many. But a lot more concentration of people like that are on Twitch. Again, a lot of people are just gaming, but nowadays it's different, because like there's like a lot of IRL streaming and stuff like that, and streaming has become something different as a whole. So like streaming isn't just, oh, you're sitting down, you're playing games. There's like a bunch of things that have infiltrated the steaming architecture that fall under that, like the hot tub streams that people were getting away with. Not something that I would be putting around kids for real. All the IRL crash out streaming, not something I would be putting around kids for real. People stealing and all that, doing all that, not something I would be putting around kids for real. But yeah, I feel like nowadays there's a higher concentration of people doing stuff like that on Twitch. What is that top one? Threads, put that in the same category as Twitter. But yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Let's watch this video real quick. Let's see what else.
A few hours ago, on the 10th of December, Australia became the first country in the world to ban social media for under 16s, after legislation passed in November 2024 came into effect.
Okay.
It bans access to 10 different platforms for roughly 2.5 million
Whoa, wait.
8 to 15s after legislation passed in November
What were those
2024
platforms?
came into effect. It bans access to 10 different platforms.
Oh, YouTube isn't banned. Or is that YouTube Kids? That's YouTube Kids? So they banned Facebook. Kick. Yeah, ban Kick for sure. Because if Twitch is questionable, then Kick is gone. Like, so Facebook got banned, Instagram got banned, Threads got banned, TikTok got banned, Snapchat got banned, YouTube got banned, X, Reddit, Kick, Twitch. All right, which bans do I actually agree with? I feel like YouTube Kids isn't banned though. But like, what is? I guess I don't really know everything that YouTube Kids encompasses. So if there's stuff that like, if there's content like you can make, that ends up on YouTube Kids, that's actually kid friendly, then I think that's okay. Like if there's like a gaming video or something that I made that it was like, oh, I was talking about a game or something like that, like the one we did yesterday where we reviewed that trailer or something like that. If something like that was like kind of kid friendly, I guess. But I don't see why that would make it on YouTube Kids. I'm guessing that has to do with that setting that you do that says, is this made for kids? And if it hits yes, then it's eligible for YouTube Kids. Is that what that is? I'd have to look into that. But I think having the whole of YouTube banned might be a mistake, but I can see the reason for it. Now, what's not banned? Facebook messaging. That's fair. Pinterest. Yeah, Pinterest is fine. Is that Roblox? Roblox, GitHub, WhatsApp. I don't know what this is. And then Steam. That's cool. And then Discord, so people can just game and stuff with their friends, which is cool. That's dope. I don't know. Yeah, the only one that I would really be like questionable on is the YouTube ban. And then like if they're not creators, because like, okay, if I'm like a child like artist, right? Where would I be able to post my work in these to where you can gain traction? Discord, you can definitely build a Discord, but how would you get it out there? But then you can that would invite anybody in there then. Pinterest, YouTube Kids. It's tough, man. It's tough. Guess you just gotta wait till you get at 16, 17, I guess. That's fine. That's honestly okay. It's only a minor problem. I feel like the good that it's gonna do for their like mental health is gonna outweigh the negatives of potential like forward growth, because they can always do it once they get 17, 18. They can like start putting their stuff out there, and they're still ahead.
Platforms for roughly 2.5 million 8 to 15-year-olds in Australia, an estimated 86% of whom currently use social media, with the platforms facing fines of up to 49.5 million Australian dollars, equivalent to 33 million US dollars or 25 million pounds, if they don't stop under 16s from having accounts. So in this video, we'll take a look at Australia's world-first social media ban, how it will work, and what might happen next.
Australia's standing on that. They said, hey, y'all gonna have
Never
to
miss an
come
episode
through.
and always feel in the loop by subscribing and ringing the bell. Let's start by explaining the ban
what is the
itself.
quality?
The law, officially called the Online Safety Amendment Social Media Minimum Age Act 2024, aims to protect children from cyberbullying, grooming, and harmful content on social media. It also aims to reduce the negative impacts of social media on young people's mental health, which Australia's e-safety commissioner, Julia Inman-Grant, says come from design features that encourage them to spend more time on screens. For context, the idea...
Yep, exactly. The design features, the predatory attention economy design features that say, hey, we're gonna maximize app usage, we're gonna gamify TikTok, we're gonna instantly scroll so they don't stop scrolling and keep on the next video, all that garbage. That's why, like, a lot of the times when I'm making content on whatever like platform I'm making it on, I'm not making it to like, so that I'm not making it in a way that's like, you know, prying on like little addictive tendencies. I'm making it in a way that it's like, okay, yes, this is enjoyable content, but I heavily encourage everyone to enjoy my content on their own time when they're able to, in a way that's healthy for them. You know what I mean? With any content I create, whether that's on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, any of that, it's not going to be the clickbaity, like, dopamine rush type content. Well, I mean, it clickbaity sometimes, because like with the algorithm promoting it and stuff like that, yeah, make it clickbaity, but the content itself isn't going to be like that. Like, it's not always going to be that fast cut dopamine rush attention, like grasping. Not that it doesn't grab your attention, but like it's not like, hey, I'm gonna reach into your brain and grab that junk and just be like, ha, I can't stop watching the video. No, we're not doing any of that.
The idea of a social media ban largely stems from research by the American social psychologist Jonathan Haidt, whose 2024 book, The Anxious Generation, argues that Gen Z's mental health struggles result from two social trends: the decline of free play, i.e. unstructured child-led playtime, and the rise of social media, which encourages addiction to smartphones.
Wait, do we have the right thing up? Okay, we do. I was making sure the right mic was attached. That's good.
Haidt's research soon turned into a global campaign, and on the 8th of September 2024, Australian politician Peter Malinauskas, the Labour Premier of South Australia, whose wife had read Haidt's book, proposed a new law to ban children under 14 from accessing social media. 2 days later, on the 10th of September, the Australian federal government then announced its own legislation, and in November 2024, the Australian Parliament voted to ban social media for under 16s. Under the law, social media companies are required to take reasonable steps to prevent under 16s from accessing their platforms by using age assurance technologies, such as facial or voice recognition, or face a $49.5 million Australian dollar fine. The legislation applies to...
just talking about, Nah, so like there was literally a conversation that me and some friends had, right? I was literally having a conversation with a couple of friends of mine, and we were talking about, it was about the Lily Phillips situation, right? And like how she was like making all these like social media headlines and stuff, and like her and like Bonnie Blue and all that. And then I was looking at that and I was like, I was talking about it and I was like, that is hilarious, because it just shows the times that we're in, right? I had a bunch of takes about it, but the part that it evolved into, but the part of the conversation that it evolved into was ultimately like me saying like, I think that stuff is like entertaining for us to look at, like, and just be like, wow, look at our generation just out there being complete degenerates. But like, I'm looking at the kids below us, and those are who I was really just like, they should not be exposed to this stuff. Like, we can handle looking at that stuff, like, we got like OF models like leading trends on like Instagram and stuff, and it's like, okay, all right. But I'm looking at like, if I'm looking at kids like, and like my nephew pops on Instagram or something and he's seeing all that, I'm just like, that's a non-starter. Because I'm just like, like, bro should definitely be focused on other stuff. That's definitely not something that should even be like circulating around like kids' topics of content or anything like that. Or even, so I was suggesting like whatever type of internet restrictions would be able to like prevent that or stuff like that. And this is highly like, this was like a base level prototyped idea, right? Just to like address the problem, right? Not a perfect solution. But what I suggested was like having a segregated internet, like having an adult internet, and then having like a all ages internet, I guess, right? And then like some content, like each piece of content, no matter what, would have to be either flagged as like kid friendly or not kid friendly. And then any of the content that's like flagged as like not kid friendly, like you know how on YouTube you say, is this made for kids, da 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 da, right? Every bit of content would be flagged as like not kid friendly or kid friendly. And then anything that's like not kid friendly would end up on the adult internet, and everything else just on the regular mainstream internet. And then the adult internet is like gated by like some sort of like recognition software. Like you have some kind of either like ID or like photo recognition software, like some kind of like process that like accurately determines someone's age before use. And so you kind of have to like log on to the adult internet. If you're like an adult, you don't have to log on to the adult internet. You can just use the regular internet. But if you're adult and you like don't care about seeing like adult content and stuff like that, you want to see everything the internet has to offer, then you got to log on to the adult internet. But you can only do that if you're an adult. But then other than that, you just see the kid or like the omni internet, I guess, which is like everything, but it's not specifically made for kids, but it's kid safe. You know what I mean? So it's not just people with like legs spread on the front page of the internet. It's like you're not gonna see any of that stuff. So I don't know. It's a beta idea, but like this is kind of like along the lines that I was thinking.
10 different social media and live streaming platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, X, Reddit, Kick, and Twitch, but doesn't affect children's platforms like YouTube Kids or Google Classroom, or messaging apps
Google
like
Classroom.
WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, or Discord, GitHub, Pinterest, Roblox, Steam, and Steam Chat. The affected platforms also have to close existing accounts belonging to under-16s, a move that began last week when Meta, which owns Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, started removing the roughly 450,000 accounts on its platforms belonging to Australian under-16s. So will the ban actually work?
Really give them a chance
Well, there
to
are really
like,
two questions
save their
here.
content.
Firstly, will it actually prevent under-16s from accessing social media? And secondly, if it does, will it actually improve children's mental health? On the practical
I think it
question,
will.
as teenagers themselves have pointed out, under-16s can easily find ways of circumventing the ban,
They
such
can,
as through
but that
VPN.
knocks out the majority of people who aren't willing to go to those lengths, which is always the argument. It's like, yeah, there are still going to be some people who find a way, because if the technology exists and you have the will to use it, you can get through. But not everybody's going to be doing that. Not everybody's going to be trying that hard.
VPNs or parental assistance, with one 13-year-old telling the BBC she bypassed the face scan by holding a photo of her mum in front of the camera. Moreover, according to polling conducted for the Australian government in May, a third of Australian parents actually intend to help their kids get around the ban, and 72%
Wait,
of
what?
Australian parents actually intend to help their kids get around the ban, and
Like, help them get
72% of
around it.
under-16s don't think it'll work. The age assessment technology being used by Meta and Snapchat isn't perfect either, as it reportedly struggles for people 2 to 3 years either side of 16. Crucially though, this age inference method was chosen instead of ID verification, which was
them child voice actors will be breaking that if they're like doing adult voices, and they drop their voice or something and they try to sound like an adult. I don't know.
unpopular with the public due to the risks involved with submitting personal information to social media firms. In fact,
yeah.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has actually said that the law specifically prohibits platforms from requiring government-issued ID. In short, teenagers will find ways around the ban, which means it probably won't prevent 100% of under-16s from accessing social media. But campaigners
100%.
argue that
You don't need to prevent 100%, because those like percentages that want to get around it, they were going to do that anyways. And that's a choice that they're making, an active choice that they're making.
the main aim of the ban isn't necessarily to block every single teenager from being able to create accounts, but rather to establish a new social norm where at least a majority of under-16s aren't on social media. The hope here is that, over time, kids will either get fed up of trying to find ways around the ban, or at least spend less time on social media if fewer of their friends are on it. This is essentially a way
like, if your friends aren't on it, like, I was gonna say, like, if your friends aren't on it, I feel like there's gonna be like a withdrawal. There's gonna be like a withdrawal period where kids are like, all of a sudden, they're not an influencer anymore. Or all of a sudden they can't just like do the, what was that trend that popped up? The like, look at you trend. It was like the camera flip trend. That's what it is, right? They're like, oh, they're doing that in school or something. Now they can't like do that and then like get a bunch of like viral views or something like that. So it's gonna be like a dopamine detox, I think. Like with anyone quitting social media, I feel like. But I feel like it's gonna be cool when they start to come back and they're like, this is cool, just hanging out with friends and whatnot. It's cool. And then obviously when they get older, they can just remake accounts if they really decide like, hey, you know what? After that break, after like deciding social media, it can go either way. It's like you can either decide like, oh, you know what? Social media, I really didn't care about it that much. It was just because other people were doing it around me. Or they could be like, no, I needed to be on social media, and then they can do that after.
Of trying to reverse the so-called network effects of social media, i.e. the idea that as more users join a platform, the more useful, and therefore more difficult to leave, that platform becomes. While a recent ABC News survey found that 75% of under-16s don't plan to stop using social media after the ban, it could succeed if teenagers simply get bored of having to bypass the age checks every time. Moreover, YouGov polling from November 2024 suggests the Australian electorate are overwhelmingly in favour of the ban, with 77% supporting a ban on under-16s and 87% supporting stronger penalties for social media companies that don't comply. But the Australian government also risks legal challenges from both teenagers and tech firms. Last month, two 15-year-olds backed by the Digital Freedom Project launched a High Court challenge against the Australian government.
Teens launch High Court challenge to Australia's social media ban. Noah Jones and Macy Nealon argue the ban disregards the rights of children. I mean, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It honestly does. It does. That's a complicated topic because, like, the rights of children has always been something that's been, like, controversial because, like, there's certain developmental deficiencies that make it so that, like, yeah, even if you have the right to do something, doesn't necessarily constitute letting you do it, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, like the rights of like an adult, like you can't, like if you're a parent, right, and there's like cars in the street, say you're an adult, right, there's cars in the street, right, you can't, I mean, you could try, but like passing a law that that tells like a grown person not to like walk into the street and get hit by a car is completely different than your child walking into the street and you yanking their arm and being like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Completely different. But I get their plea.
Arguing that the ban is unconstitutional as it infringes upon their right to free communication. While it's unlikely to...
I mean, there's other platforms you can still communicate, right? But I get it. I do. I really do. Because I know if I was in their situation and I was like an influencer, they're probably influencers. They're probably making a lot of money from it. And like if I was in their situation and I was like, oh, I'm 15 and they ban YouTube or whatever, like if they're like YouTubers or something, like say one of them, they're like a Minecraft dude, looked like he could have been a Minecraft YouTuber, I think.
Launched a High Court challenge
he
against
looks
the
like he could be
Australian
a
government,
Minecraft YouTuber.
arguing that...
So like say he was like a Minecraft YouTuber, right? He's 15. They ban him for like granted, he only really has to wait a year. They're 15-year-olds, so like, granted, he only really has to wait a year, and I guess he can use that year to like build up a video log of content, I guess. But like, that would probably hurt him a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if he were to have to take a break for an entire year before coming back, it would probably hurt him a lot. But also, I feel like a lot of his fan base probably wouldn't fall off of him. I feel like they'd be like, dang, he got banned because of his like country, right? So we can't follow him anymore. But then when he comes back, there might be like a little resurgence. But dang, that is tough. I'm not gonna lie, that is tough. Especially if they're actually like not engaging in the toxic aspects of social media and they're actually having a solid career from it that's like growing actively. And then they just have to have it halted. That's tough. That honestly sucks if that's the case.
The ban is unconstitutional as it infringes upon their right to free communication. While it's unlikely to reverse the ban, the protest does seem to reflect the views of most under-16s, 70% of whom don't think the ban is a good idea. Other more serious lawsuits, though, could come from the social media platforms themselves, with Alphabet, which owns Google and therefore YouTube, reportedly considering a challenge. YouTube's opposition is to being classed as a social media platform, preferring instead to identify as a video sharing platform, which could...
Yep. That's what I'm saying. YouTube got to get out of it because YouTube's not the perpetrator. YouTube's not the perpetrator here. There are people on YouTube that do that, but overall, I think YouTube is more beneficial for them.
Give it grounds to challenge the ban. Finally, it's also possible that US President Donald Trump could take action against Australia, having previously threatened tariffs against countries he claims discriminate against US tech firms, and attempted to pressure both the UK and EU into rolling back their digital services taxes.
Crazy.
Anticipating these possible challenges, last week Australia's Communications Minister Annika Wells told the BBC that the government would not be, quote, intimidated by big tech, adding that Australia was pleased to be the first, we're proud to be the first, and we stand ready to help any other jurisdictions who seek to do these things. Indeed, other countries are already following Australia's lead. Last month, Malaysia announced it would ban social media for under-16s from 2026. Denmark announced an agreement to ban social media for under-15s, and Norway is also taking steps to enforce a minimum age of 15.
See, they really be leading, like, I'm not gonna lie though, this doesn't surprise me, the whole Denmark and Norway thing, because they really, like, those, like, Scandinavian countries that are, like, up there, they're, like, for a lot of people that don't know, they really be, like, leading the case for, like, people living good lives in their country. They actually care about their citizens. Yeah. But that doesn't surprise me.
Similarly, at least two...
Like with their healthcare policies, education policies, and things like that that are more widely available for people. Yeah.
Labour MPs in the UK this month have called for a social media ban for under-16s, although back in February, the UK government responded to a petition saying it was not currently minded to support a ban for children under 16. Regardless, whatever happens next, we're currently minded to support a ban for children under 16. A petition saying it was not currently minded to support a ban for children under 16.
Oh, okay, so they're not going to do it.
Regardless, whatever happens next with Australia's social media ban will be watched all around the world and is sure to inform similar policies in other countries in future.
If it ends up going well.
While in Australia, politicians are moving to block usage of social media, in other countries, politicians are using it to campaign more than ever. We discussed that in the latest issue of our magazine, Too Long, which features an opinion piece all about the rise of the politician influencer. That issue of Too Long is now officially in stock too, with it focusing on the reshaping of the Middle East. In this magazine, we run through each country in the region to discuss how they're rewriting the next chapter. How they're rewriting the next chapter of their story, from Qatar's growing global influence, who will govern New Gaza, if Iran could dash for a nuke, or how Lebanon can disarm Hezbollah. This is a region we know a lot of you are interested in, so this latest issue dives deep with our real thoughts on the next era of this often troubled region. Not only that, but we also have sections focusing on UK, EU and global news, including our full rundown of some of the biggest elections which happened around the world over the past year. There's also our interview with YouTube's Money and Macro on how to fix the EU economy, the rise of the politician influencer, and the new left emerging in the UK. As a special Christmas offer, we're offering you special gifts if you subscribe to Too Long. For instance, new subscribers can get a set of TLDR keyrings for free. Our assembly required
Yeah, it looks like the video's over at this point.
desk
I can
calendar.
just let it play and then mute it. But hey, that's gonna be the video for this one. Let me know what y'all think about this. This is a very interesting topic. I don't know if any of y'all are gonna be like below the age of 16, above the age of 16, whoever's watching this particular video. But let me know what y'all think about it in the comments. Maybe other perspectives, things like that you have in there. You for it, you're against it, what's going on? Let me know. But that's gonna be the video. That's gonna be it for me. And I'll catch you in the next one. Okay. Bye.